brilliant that you picked the right night to make sure to show up, because tonight is a very important night. We're going to be working on probably one of the most important subjects that we're going to cover this semester, and that is the table view controller. So definitely a good thing to not miss.
Are we still working on picking and grinning?
Nope. We're going to do a whole new project.
Oh, I forgot about my cell phone.
Oh, you forgot to bring it in. Oh well.
I haven't been home since 7
Days.
this morning.
Um,
Yeah, it's been a week since I've been home.
yes. Hopefully the house is still there. I don't know.
Wife and kids took off.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Boxcar Glen.
And the heat went out in my car this morning.
Did it? Perfect timing, huh?
Yeah.
Now it's getting cold.
Right when I become a hobo.
Well, anyway, I suppose we'll get started here and start up your favorite application in the whole world, Xcode. Picking and grinning is done. The third assignment is out there, so I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it yet.
Yeah, not that it matters, but the due date is like the 19th, so it's past due.
Oh,
Yeah, I hate being past due when we first get the assignment.
really? All right, I'll fix that. What in the world? It's supposed to be December 19th, not October. My bad. Apologies. Yeah, I'll fix that. All right. Good thing you mentioned that. So for that assignment, one thing I was going to mention is I set it up to have a NFL theme to it. But if you want to do a different theme, you can do a different theme. You can pick your own. You can pick, types of beer. You can pick, different types of cars. You can pick whatever you want, clothes. You don't have to use the NFL theme. I just put that out there so that if you need something, if you don't want to find your own resources, your own pictures and stuff, you can just use that. But you aren't necessarily bound to it if you want to do your own thing. I would just ask that if you do your own theme, that you pick at least like 10 different things to choose from for your picker. And then you can pick, you can pick whatever you want. You'd have to create, your own images. You'd have to size them so that they show up halfway decently in the picker view and that kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, you're free to use your artistic liberty if you want. All right. Otherwise, you can just use the NFL stuff that I put out there. Once I change the due date to be in the future. All right. So anyway, tonight we'll go ahead and we are going to see how I want to do this. Yeah, we're going to create a new project, create a new Xcode project, and wow, that was remarkably fast. Okay, this will be a single view application, and let's see. I'll call this All My Trees.
You say it was a single view application you said?
Single view, yep. All My Trees. All right. And create.
Just Swift iPhone.
Yep, iOS. Okay. So, yeah, the usual shell that we start off with. Tonight, like I said.
Is there a way to shut off that light directly right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I? Perfect.
Spinning wheel of death.
Wonderful.
Xcode, Apple, Steve Jobs. I think he was a sadist, I really do. All right.
Where do you turn heaven to problem?
Yep. So there's our blank view controller. As you know by now, that is a UI view controller derived class. Here it is. Here's our view controller with our standard boilerplate code inserted. All right, now that it's loaded and ready, what we're going to work with tonight is probably the most used control in all of iOS, which is the table view. So if you have the object library open over here, we'll go ahead and get started with this guy right away. I'm going to go down to the control library, and there's the table view. Click on that, it displays a single column list of multiple rows through which users can scroll. Each row in a table view is a UI table view cell object. Plain style table view displays rows that occupy the full width of the view and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so essentially the important key concepts here are that it's a list of rows, multiple rows. So that's the main theme of the table view. It's called a table view, but really it's the equivalent of an Android list view. It's a list of objects. So as far as it being a table, it generally doesn't have multiple columns. It has a single column, so therefore the naming of it is a little weird, I think. But in any event, UI table view is the main class here. So go ahead and drag that guy over onto the storyboard on your view controller. And tonight is Nate's lucky night, because we're going to be covering advanced constraint subjects tonight. How to create, manipulate, add, and otherwise suffer from constraints. All right, so table view is kind of critical to get the constraints right on. I was joking for the most part, but we do need to do some constraint stuff with this thing to make it look right. So you can make it any size you want. Now, if we had gone with a UI table view controller, this guy, I didn't choose that right off the bat because a UI table view controller basically takes over all the available real estate of your window and dominates it, and that is your screen as the table view controller. And you may want to put other stuff on your screen besides just the table view. So anyway, plop that on there. We're going to need to center it right away. So you can do the control, drag, and center horizontally right away. Make sure you do these, in the order that I'm doing them, and do each one. All right, so that gets us the horizontal centering. Next thing we want to do is our vertical. So I'm doing another control drag, and I'm going to set the vertical spacing to top layout guide, and that guy, I'll probably set that to about 40.
The top one was horizontal or vertical?
Top one is vertical, so you can drag up or down to do the horizontal one, but then you need to drag up to get the vertical. So there's my horizontal. The horizontal one will run all the way through, and the vertical one is just that little one at the top. And I set that guy to about 40. Now, once you've set that so things don't get really weirded out, you also have to set the width constraint and the height constraint. Otherwise, it tries to make it into a really weird shape. So I'm going to do a control drag right inside of the table view controller and set the width. And that constraint will show up underneath the table view itself.
So what did you just do? No.
I did, to create the constraint, I did a control drag inside the table view. And then I was just saying that to look at the width constraint, that actually appears underneath the table view itself over here in the view controller scene. And so that's compatible with all devices. I'd set that to about 320. That'll get everything from the iPhone 5 up. Then we also want to set the height constraint. So I'm going to do a control vertical drag inside the table controller and set the height. That also will appear over here by the width. And that guy, to make that universally compatible, I would go like I don't know, 450 probably on that.
Before you go any further, do you want to set the iPhone 7 Plus that you have at the top to whatever you want?
Yeah, you can set that to whatever you want. I'm not quite to the point yet. If we build it, you're not going to see a whole lot yet. But yeah, you can set that to wherever you. I'm going to go with an iPhone 6. And then for our inferred form view controller size. Oh, that's right. Um, that's really weird. I'm not getting an option for setting line. Oh well. Odd. I wasn't getting a size metric available. Huh. Anyway, so now that the table view is on there, a couple things we need to do. Table view is a data-driven control, so it's always going to be looking for a data source. So with our UI picker view control, remember we had a picker view delegate and a picker view data source. And then we had to implement methods in the view controller to handle certain events that would be propagated from the picker control. So we'll do the same thing with our table view controller. It's even more so that way. Everything in the table view is data driven, and it's got a bunch of events that need to be handled. So to do that, what we can do is first of all, I'm going to create a IB outlet, a variable of this table view. So I'm going to bring up the assistant editor, and then we'll do a control drag over here to create our outlet. I'm just going to cleverly call it table view and connect it.
And that's going to be UI table type, table view.
Yep, UI table view. Okay, so with that guy created, we can go ahead and actually shut that down, the source file. And then with it still selected, come over to the outlet inspector with the table view. And in the outlet selector, we have data source and delegate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the top one by data source. And you don't have to use the control button, just click on it and drag. And then bring it over here and drop it on view controller. And then the same thing with the delegate. And then that wires up the view controller as the data source and the delegate for that table view.
Can you do that again?
Yep. Let me know when you're ready.
Trying to figure out what you selected.
What were we supposed to drag it to? View control?
Yeah, over in the view controller scene here where the view controller is, just drag it over to that. And then when you get the blue rectangle around it, you can just drop it.
Control drag.
You don't have to control. You just click on it and drag over to the view controller, drop it, and same with the delegate. Okay, so that wires those up. Now you might think that that's all you need to do, but no. That's not going to cover it. So you also need to, in the source file, where the class is declared, the view controller, it is derived from UI view controller, but as with the picker control, it's also a UI table view. If I could type table view delegate and a UI table view data source. So when you wire that up, then that tells the source code, or tells the compiler that this class is going to be handling certain methods, and so we're going to need to implement those. If we don't, we're not going to get it to build because we have an error there. Clicking on the error, it says type view controller does not conform to protocol UI table view data source, which means we have to add certain methods. All right, so the next thing we need to do, if you just start typing table, they'll come up, except every time I do, I type the wrong thing. All right, try again. Table view, there we go. So here's a number of the table view, delegate, and data source methods. The ones that we have to add are going to be number of rows in section. That guy needs to be in there. And to start off with, we can just return 0. That way we won't get a compile error for that. Then if you start typing the word number, you'll get this number of sections in table view. That's another one we need to implement. I'm going to just return 1. So number of sections, you can have what's called a grouped table view controller. So if you have an iPhone, I can even do it on the simulator, except I'm going to have to implement these before I can run it. Another one, table view. We need to find the cell for row.
You
There
said
it is.
cell for row?
Cell for row at index path. This guy right here.
I was looking for SELL.
Oh, think about selling the car, right? All right, so yeah, cell as in cellular, that kind of thing. All right, so what I'm going to do is this will generate an error because we have to return a UI table view cell. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to construct a blank one and return it. That way the compiler is happy, and then we have all the methods that we need in order to make it compile and run. So I'm going to go ahead and run it right away. Take a break for a few minutes while it builds and starts the simulator.
I hope I grabbed the right stuff.
What kind of stuff are you looking for?